Do you sometimes come across stretchy fabrics that you don't buy because you don't think you may need them? Have you ever thought of starting a ready-made clothing business? Well, then let me introduce you to this beautiful ready-made dress that I made out of rib-knit fabric. If this is something you'd love to learn, do stick and stay and let's do it together. It's beginner friendly. To design our beautiful style, we first would have to get our measurement. The shoulder to shoulder is 14 and a half. The bust is 34. Waist 24. Hip 40. Around arm 12. The shoulder to nipple is 10 and a half. Shoulder to waist 16 and a half. The shoulder to hip 24 and a half. The dress length is 38 and then the sleeve length is 22, all in inches. Because this is a rib knit fabric, we're going to calculate 10% off all the horizontal measurements. And so the shoulder to shoulder, which was 14 and a half, calculating 10% off it will give us 1.45. And so we subtract the 1.45 from the 14 and a half or 14.5, and then we get 13.05, which is almost 13 inches. Then we'll go to the bust measurement, which used to be 34. Calculating 10% will give us 3.4. 3.4 minus 34 will give us 30.6, which is almost 30 and a half. The waist, which was 24, minus 10% of 2.4 will give us 21.6, which is also just like 21 and a half. The hip was 40. 10% of 40 will give us 4 inches. So 4 minus the 40 will give us 36. And the round arm was 12 inches minus 1.2, which is the 10%, would also give us 10.8. And so these are the horizontal measurements to which we are calculating the 10%. The shoulder to nipple, the shoulder to waist, the shoulder to hip, the dress length, and the sleeve length are all vertical measurements, and so they are excluded from the 10% calculation. The next step would be to fold our fabric. We use the highest horizontal measurement to fold the fabric. In this instance, the highest horizontal measurement is the hip. We get 36 inches. And so we fold this by 36 inches divided by 4, which is 9 inches. This is just serving as a guide to make sure that we folded it accurately. Now the next step would be to draw a line on the top here to serve as our starting line. Then we measure the length, which is 38. We've also added our 1-inch hem allowance to it. We'll mark our shoulder to nipple, shoulder to waist, shoulder to hip lines. We'll mark the shoulder to shoulder measurement divided by 2. So the shoulder to shoulder after calculating the 10% is 13. Divided by 2 gives us 6.5. There's no seam allowance. Then we move downwards by the shoulder slope, which is 1.5. We'll mark the neck width, which is 3 inches. Then we connect the neck width to the shoulder slope. We mark the arm depth, which is the round arm measurement, divided by 2. We are adding just half as is. And so the round arm divided by 2 gives us 10.8, which is 10 3/4. Divided by 2 gives us 5 3/8, plus half, which will then be 5 3/4. This then becomes our chest line, and so we divide our bust measurement into 4. The bust is 30.5. Divided by 4 gives us 7 5/8. No seam allowance is added. Now we'll come direct to the waist. Also divide the waist measurement by 4. Our waist is 21 and a half. Divided by 4 gives us 5 and 3/8. The hip is 36. Divided by 4 gives us 9. We connect these dots. Then we'll draw our armhole. For the back neck depth, we are coming down by 3/4 of an inch. Then we cut this out. And so with this, we are going to cut the front pattern. For the front neck depth, we have to move further downwards by 3 inches. To be able to cut our sleeve, we first would have to get our armhole measurement and the arm depth from the dress. And the arm depth is 5 and 3/4. We note these two measurements down. And so we use the arm depth measurement to fold the fabric. And so the arm depth is 5 and 3/4. We fold it by 5 and 3/4. Then we take in 5 inches inseam. Then we measure the sleeve length. We draw an S-like shape to connect the cap to the inseam. Then we measure this to see if we get the 7 and 3/4 we got for the armhole. Measuring this, we get 8 inches, which is 1/4 inch more than the armhole, and so we are good to go. For the wrist or the calf, we are taking 3.5 inches, or you can do 4. Then we connect the two. We'll go ahead and cut this out. For the turtleneck, we'll first have to measure the neck hole. This is giving us 9.5, which means 19 inches. The average head circumference ranges between 22 to 25 inches. And so we are making sure that after we fix our collar, the head will be able to penetrate through this 19 inches. And because of the stretch, we are assured of a correct measurement. The neck circumference itself is 15 inches, and so we'll cut 15 inches off the neck. And so this has been folded into two. We are cutting 7.5, and the length we want 6 inches because we'll fold it to get 3 inches. We stitch the two shoulders together. After stitching our shoulders together, it's now time to fix the sleeve. So we do same for the other sleeve. We have to create a notch at the center front of our neckline and at the center back. Then we stitch this side of our turtleneck. We would also create a notch at the opposite side. This is where the seam is. And so we create a notch at this side. We'll go ahead and stitch this. You just realize that the neck is smaller than the space to which you are going to fix it. And so we'd have to stretch this. It fits perfectly well. Since we did not add any seam allowance to it, we are just stitching 1/4 of an inch as our seam allowance. And so we repeat same for the other side. As you can see, our dress is beautifully done and it's all covered up. But then I just want to make it a bit more daring. And so we show just a bit of skin and also to add to the beauty. If you want it like this, you can just leave it as such. But then if you want to make it more daring, let's go. We want to make the left side of our sleeve an off shoulder. On the right side, which is the opposite side, we would also take a few inches off to expose the skin a bit. I would want the back expose to rather be deeper than that of the front. And so I'll cut it a bit deeper. We'll measure this distance and use it to cut another fabric on crossway. I want to cut crossway bias. And so what I'll do is that I'll measure 13 inches on this side and 13 on that side. 13 is not a constant figure, but then whatever you do for this side that is along the grains should be the same across the grain. Then we take this to our sewing machine and stitch. One thing to take note of when sewing a thing like this is that since this side stretches so much, you'd want to make sure that you do not stretch it further. Instead, the bias that you are going to fix, that is what you are going to stretch, right? You are making sure that you take off all the elasticity so that it would be as strong as possible around the area. And so we'd also start by not stitching from the beginning, but then we start a few inches away. As we're about to get close to this very one, we'll cut this off, and then also leave a bit of space and also cut this off, so that there's a space left in between the two. Now we're going to open them like this, and then open this one to sew them good size together. So when we open it up, this is what we get. Let's take it to our table and give it a good press.